China is imminent. It's inevitable. Justifying the way it behaves off of 3 or 4 or 5,000 years of history, but where it gets its motivation is the opium wars, from my perspective. We look at the fentanyl crisis. This is their covert play of destroying American families.
What were the big things you kind of liked and didn't like about being in the military?
I joined because I just wanted to be a fighter. 14,000 suppliers they rely on. 2,000 of them, through their subsidiary Collins Aerospace, are in China. We can't just quickly reindustrialize here and one-for-one swap out units of production in China. I don't think we can be as effective as we hope to be if we don't include the actual middle America workers. How do you survive when you're not in control? You can do that through the industrial economy.
Today's guest is the co-founder and CEO of Empirium, a marketplace for aerospace, defense, and manufacturing that connects suppliers and buyers. Please welcome MARSOC legend, Mike Sims. All right. So, Mike, how's your day going?
It's going great. Great to be here.
Thanks for driving down.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And did you hit any traffic, or are you pretty chill?
No, but I hit a lot of potholes on Miramar.
Miramar?
Yeah.
The greatest street in San Diego.
Yeah. I feel like I'm driving in Iraq when I'm on that street.
I bet.
Yeah.
I after the latest rains, before they put, because now they just don't even care, and they just put fucking metal grades down.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
I was like watching in front of me, and like at the last minute, 2 cars just went like this. One went left into like the other
I saw it.
Incoming traffic, and the one went right. And I just had this huge pothole in front of me, and I'm like, and I have a Tesla like 3, so it already sits pretty low.
Yeah.
But I threaded the needle between the 2 big holes. I rode right on the edge, so I didn't like have the thump.
Yeah.
And just have my transmission drop. But,
Right.
But thank you, Mayor Todd Gloria, for filling the potholes on Miramar.
No
if you
kidding.
guys have not driven Miramar, it is literally the bumpiest and shittiest road in the United States. It is like a third world country. I think when I was in the Philippines over Christmas, the roads were better.
That might even be better.
Yeah, the roads were definitely better.
Well, it's because they built the whole thing on a dump, and it keeps sinking into the ground. That's why the 52 is the most fun freeway to do at about 110.
Yeah, exactly.
I've hit it pretty fast before. So.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah,
it's a game, dude. I like that. Yeah. All right, so Mike, I've known you for a couple years here. You're part of the San Diego ecosystem, broader defense ecosystem. Why don't you tell everyone a little bit about who you are and what do you do?
Absolutely. Well, this is awesome. Thanks for having me here, Dan. So my background, I'm originally from the Bay Area. I was a blue-collar guy, so I went to trade school, was a welder, fabricator, built race trucks, actually. So my old boss, actually right around 9/11, his name's...
Like race trucks or like trophy trucks?
Like trophy trucks. So
Sick.
Class 1
Cool.
trophy trucks, and then he had a product line, which is some sandrails.
Yep.
And so we were in there we had a big chassis jig. We'd weld it all up, and then at all the races, after the race, we'd tear the whole truck down. I'd drop the engines off at the builder, come back, and then we'd go to like Las Vegas or Mexico, drink a bunch of beer, and drive around in golf carts all day long. It was super fun.
High school Dan would have worshipped you. Let me just tell you. I always wanted a trophy truck, and then I learned how much they are. And
I know,
I'm like,
they're $1 million.
Cannot.
It's even more to race them at the end of the day.
I bet.
It's $1 million for the thing. It's another $1 million to have fun.
Yeah.
At the end of the day. So
I always looked up to like the dudes, the motocross dudes who'd like the metal militia guys who'd made the money because they'd have the $2 million trophy truck.
Yeah.
Guys, and we're talking 25 years ago.
Yes.
So like,
maybe
it was like $200,000 back then. Now they're about $1 million.
They're way more money today.
Yeah.
That's actually what I want to do when I retire is just race trucks. That'd be super awesome.
Can I sit next to you?
Absolutely.
And like do the thing where you're like moving the map, trying to figure out where you are?
Well, the most hardcore guy is Ivan Stewart because he would sit in the middle of the Toyota and do the entire 1,000 miles by himself in the old school Toyota trophy truck.
What a
It's
boss.
pretty sweet. Yeah. But I love
Can
that
I ask
stuff.
one question?
Yeah.
Do you pee yourself when you're doing those races? I assume
They have
so.
a catheter.
Oh, they do?
Yeah.
That's terrible.
So just like a pilot.
Yeah, exactly.
The problem is if you have number 2, then
Big
I don't know what's
problem.
going to happen. You know what I mean? So, but no, I grew up with cars, and in high school, all my buddies had cars. Didn't know what to do after high school, and a few of them were like, we're going to go to UTI, which is like a trade school in Arizona. So we all went out. There's like 8 of us that went out there. We all from high school, and then we all lived in the same apartment complex, and so we all had
Incredible.
30 packs.
Incredible.
It was awesome. And this is back in I graduated in 2000, and in Phoenix you could ride in the back of trucks. You can have guns. You can have beer. You could have open containers in the car. So for an 80s baby to then go get, launched into Phoenix with all of your friends, with all these, kind of crazy Wild West rules, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And then, so did that. And actually 9/11 had hit, obviously, then. I knew nothing about 9/11. I knew nothing about the Twin Towers.
Yeah.
I was driving to work. I had a beater, just a complete beater. And I had the radio on, and they're like, oh, plane hit the Twin Towers. And I was like, what is the Twin Towers, So by the time I get to the shop, they rolled out the TV on the TV stand, and they showed the second tower, or right when they turned it on, the second tower got hit.
Yep.
19-year-old kid knew nothing about anything.
Yep.
Could barely point out, New York City on a map. And I knew instantly we were going to war. So I was like, holy shit, we're going to war. So a couple days later, I went to the Army recruiter. Like, as soon as things opened back up, I was like, I want to join the Army. I want to go to war, basically. And the guy opens up the book. He's got like tanks and all these things. And there are these dudes sitting in the bushes with green paint on.
Yeah.
And they have this thing called a SOFLAM, which is Special Operations Forces laser. It's like a bomb laser target designator. I'm like, I want to be that dude. And he's like, well, those are Rangers. It's like a 6-year contract. I'm like, cool, sign me up. So signed up to join the Army, did the whole thing, all the medical stuff and everything, went in to go raise my hand and swear in like at the building, which once you do that, you're done. You're in the Army. And I just walked out. I walked completely out, and the recruiter's like, what are you doing? I'm like, how long is this war going to be? Because the last war, I remember when I was in third grade, it was the 90s. Yeah. It was like 3 months long. I'm like, by the time I get done with everything, the war's going to be over. I'm just going to be sitting around the Army. So I decided to just finish up school, ended up moving to San Diego. I was a mechanic at Mercedes-Benz San Diego, doing that for a couple of years. That was awesome because, I'm a 20-year-old kid. I'm making a lot of money at a dealership. I'm working on cars. Me and my buddy have a side job. We're just like taking Tacomas and Rangers and modifying all the suspension and shooting them out to Lakeside and El Cajon and all that stuff. Flat brim guys, you know what I mean?
Yeah, dude, Metal Militia.
Metal Militia,
Still wearing No Fear.
Yeah, exactly. Or Stars and Stripes.
Yeah. Shout out No Fear, Stars and Stripes, and Pit Vipers, which those guys,
are sick.
Exactly. Those guys are sick, and they're probably making like $100 million this year.
Tons of money. So anyways, that was kind of the thing. But I remember what changed for me was I was working, as a mechanic, and we had, little TVs and stuff like that. And in Fallujah, there was 2 American contractors that got hung from a bridge. Yep. And at this point, I've been watching like the whole invasion, and I'm like looking, I'm like, what am I doing? I'm not doing anything. And I'm bumping into Marines in PB who are like coming back from Afghanistan or whatever. So as soon as I saw that, I literally quit, or, I actually went to Thailand for a month with my friend, spent the whole time like in internet cafes just watching the war. And
where'd you go in Thailand?
I went everywhere because we went Golden Triangle. We went to every island. We kind of just were backpacking
go to
hostels. Yeah. Actually, I was there, and a week later is when they had the tsunami. So where we were in Koh Phi Phi, like the little tiny island, there's like a little beach area in the mountains. We were to one side of the island, and we were right next to a school, like sitting or living in a bungalow. That whole school got destroyed. Yeah. And so I remember actually seeing on the front page of the paper in San Diego was that school, and all the kids were washed away. And that's when I really it was that instance where I realized I want to go do something more than just be a mechanic. Yeah. No offense to mechanics, obviously, but so I quit my job, joined the Marines. I had a 19.5-foot long 1972 Cadillac Sedan DeVille. Cool. Coors Light T-shirt, Dickies, and some running shoes. Nice. Went to the Marine Corps in El Cajon.
He signed up. Said, sign me up.
I want to be a machine gunner, and I want to be in Iraq as fast as possible. He's like, sign here, boom. A couple weeks later, I was in boot camp, and then that's pretty much it. That's the inflection point there. Yeah.
Very interesting background, and obviously it's going to play a big role when we talk about what you do now.
Huge.
Understanding manufacturing, supply chain, all that stuff.
Yeah.
What were the big things you kind of liked and didn't like about being in the military?
I mean, I struggle with this almost every single day, and not to turn this into like a vet thing, right? But I joined because I just wanted to be a fighter. Like, I don't want to fight for other countries or anything, but I've always just been drawn to that kind of stuff. And I was like, well, this is my generation going off and doing something. I only have one shot at this. And so I just wanted to go do the job. And so what my first kind of letdown was, as soon as I got in boot camp, it was kind of weak. I thought it was going to be a lot harder.
Tough guy alert.
Yeah. Well, I want like a really challenging experience.
I get it. Yeah.
It was tough, don't get me wrong, but it's very structured. It's actually one of the best programs in terms of like moving a civilian into the military life. That's a hindsight kind of thing as a mature adult now, but
I don't know about mature, but adult.
barely,
for sure.
barely.
Yeah.
So I think that the biggest thing I loved about it, right, was the people, the mission. You're just doing things that nobody else gets to do relatively, right, to the rest of the world.
Yep.
The thing that bothered me was just the bureaucracy, the indecisiveness, the conflicting words, the inefficiency just everywhere from leadership to acquisition. And then when you do the job after a while, you start to see behind the curtain, and then you start to understand the politics, and then the kind of, the your heart in terms of being invested in the idea of fighting for your country, it starts to become a little bit challenging because you see the different forces at play, from corporate interest to political waiver. I mean, we were in these wars for so long, you're getting whiplashed around and you're like, what are we actually doing?
Yeah.
Then you get on the ground and you see kind of ground truth. So that was the challenging thing, is just I felt like we can do a lot better. I think we were overinvested, and I think that politics just got in the way of being effective at the end of the day.
What did you do when you were a Marine? What was your...
Yeah, I joined to be a machine gunner and all these things, but I had a really high test scores. So
Always smart. Damn.
yeah, tough and smart and beautiful. You know what I mean? It's tough. It's challenging to be Mike Simpson.
I don't always say that to other men, but you're a very beautiful human being, Mike.
Thank you. So when I got in late boot camp, they ran in, they grabbed like 4 dudes from the platoon, and they're like, "Hey, you guys need to go take this test." And so I went in. We went into. They kind of like broke roll, took us to the other side of boot camp base or whatever, and we sat down in front of computers and we took this language test. It was a fake language, and you sit there with headphones for like 2 hours, and you listen to fake conversations, like not a real language, but there's grammar in it. So your whole job is to derive like grammar and implied, like what are they actually getting at, and then answer a series of questions. Depending on what your score is, then you get placed in language school. So I had a high enough score to get into the hardest language at Defense Language Institute, which is the military's premier language institution, and ended up studying Arabic for about 2 years. I did the basic course and then an advanced kind of Syrian dialect course. Then I went on to Texas, and I went and got trained in signals intelligence. And the whole thing is basically, the language, you wear headphones, and you do intercept, basically. So it's adversary, you're intercepting radio communications and deriving insights from them at the end of the day. Did that for a little bit. So my whole pipeline to get into the job was about 3 years, because I did a language school, super long, intelligence school. Then I went to reconnaissance school and then parachute school. So it was really long. The whole idea is get a body deep inside with some kind of technical kit.
Yeah.
And remain undetected. That's the gist of the job. So I did that for a little bit. Then I want my shooter, the fighting in me, I still want to get out in the field. So I ended up going to selection and joining Marine Special Operations Command in 2009. Did that all the way up until the pandemic, basically.
So I have a question about language school, specifically like with the dialect they taught you.
Yeah.
What year was this?
This was 2006. Yeah.
And they had you like learning Arabic with a Syrian accent? Yeah. Why was that?
It was me and one other dude. In our class we have Arabic names. My Arabic name was Dlia.
Oh, yeah,
it's like
of course.
light.
Hold on, let me change that in my phone right now.
Yeah, exactly. It means light, like Nur, all these things. So my other, we had 9 PhD or master's degree level or teachers.
Sure.
And only 10 students.
Jeez.
And it's 8 hours a day, every single day for 2 years.
Sure.
So at the end, it took me about 6 months to kind of click. At the end, I'm reading, writing, speaking Arabic. I'm writing essays on technology and politics. It's crazy. And so the last 3 months was with me and one other student. His name's Nabil, and he's a Navy guy. And we sat with basically an exiled or some former Syrian Air Force pilot.
Yeah.
And he sat there and we read poetry and we just talked for 3 months. And so it was really interesting. So you get really good aptitude. The scary thing is when you go on the street and you try to use it, you get humbled instantly.
I bet.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's basically the highest level of education I think you can get in language and culture, high intensity and intimate. And so that's the way that you can kind of get fluent quickly.
I'm going to ask you a question. You might not know the answer, but, Arab culture and history, like some of the greatest poets of all time come from there. Why do you think that is? It's funny because I only bring this up because you bring up talking poetry with this guy.
The point of reading the poetry was to get to read between the lines. Like, what is the message? Because think about the job is you're listening to words, but what are they actually getting at? It's kind of like street language.
Sure.
So the poetry is a way of like reconfiguring and getting deeper in the language. And then also getting into the psyche of, kind of Middle Eastern culture writ large because it's coming out in the words. But I think, algebra, are the numbers we use are coming from the Middle East back in the day. I think it's, if we're going to go from an anthropologic standpoint, right? If you're tracking human anthropology going up from Africa into the Middle East, and then you have this cross-section of Asia, Europe, and Africa. Yeah. And I think there's that confluence with Mesopotamia and everything. They're getting a head start on philosophy, and I think that's where a lot of this comes from.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm going to call you Mike Arab Street here moving forward.
Yeah.
Okay. So you get out of the military during the pandemic.
Yeah. So I was really lucky because when I joined MARSOC, I was right up here in Camp Pendleton, and most of the times, you go to a unit, you do 2 or 3 deployments, and then they ship you off to somewhere else, right?
Yeah.
So because I had an intelligence background, military intelligence background, and all these things, I kind of stayed closer to that size or that side of the table. Ended up going to more schools that piled on more of that skill set, and so there's very few, because the investment's so high. There's very few of those guys.
Yeah.
So I ended up always going on deployment. So I did maybe 12 years of just deployments, I was going to go on my last deployment, which actually was in Western Africa, which is actually run by Wagner Group right now. And so there's a small platform, how it works, just a couple of soft guys out there with a big shopping list of things to do. And so the pandemic hit, and they're like, hey, Mike, you're at the top of the list. Do you know Chris Sievert? Oh, Chris, he's over at Fort Terra. So there's a few of us that are basically have never moved, and they're like, you're gone. You're going to go. So they wanted me to go work out of the Pentagon in some obscure office, and I was like, you know what? I want to be a dad. At this point, I've been gone from my kid's life forever. The pandemic's hit. There's just some family issues going on in terms of their mom's a nurse at UCSD handling COVID. And I was like, I think I have an obligation towards my kids more so than I do the mission. So I ended up getting out and transitioned, and here we are. But part of that calculus was actually being involved in some of the problems that you and I are dealing with today. Yeah. With competition and hegemony. So my last tour, I was working at an embassy in the Philippines, and I had a really interesting kind of just behind the curtains look at how the U.S. government was looking at, China's rise, especially in Southeast Asia with the South China Sea. And I'm hearing whole of government things. I'm like, wow. And the biggest thing that I noticed was there's no American companies out there. Yeah. China's got Belt and Road. Everybody's got contracts and cash. Yep. We're sitting around writing papers. Yep. And so every day that goes by, it's going to cost us 2x to recover. And so I'm like, well, there's an opportunity here to potentially use economic means like business to get out here and actually compete directly with an adversary, not an adversary, but a principal economic competitor, and do something about it, right? Instead of talk about it or admire it. And so that's where I kind of got a glimpse of that, energized me and gave me a little bit of confidence of transitioning before retirement and then hustling and figuring out, what to do. So, yeah.
So talk to us a little bit about what you're working on now.
Yeah. So, I mean, in that journey, right, just to kind of throw up some lead up is, when you're on a brand new problem, because when we're deployed on a pot of money, money well now. And so you can't really go outside the money lines, right? Because it's law, essentially. They're budgeting for it. You need an end state. You need to do all your reporting. And so we were talking to a lot of generals and CODELs and people from D.C. coming in wanting to know what's going on with the problem. And one of those individuals was Josh Wolf of Lux Capital. And I knew nothing about VC or anything. They're like, hey, you got to go talk to this guy named Josh. I'm like, cool. It's just another VIP kind of coming through week by week. And that's where I learned about VC. That's where I learned about investments and all these things. So you have this, I'm identifying a problem with no American companies competing. Then I'm learning about money. And I'm like, wow, you blend those things to get two things together and you get some kind of like 1 + 1 = 3 kind of thing. So when I transitioned, I ultimately, a lot of guys, they go get their MBA, they go try to get work in finance. That's what I wanted to do, mainly because I wanted the toolkit and the economic upside because I don't have retirement. Yep. So did the Goldman Sachs, the veterans program, did a hedge fund, middle office, startup hedge funds, really interesting. All of this kind of pick up tools, understand how finance works. Once I knew how to spell VC, because I had met Josh earlier.
It starts with an X, right?
It does, because it's a fancy one.
Yeah. It's French.
VC. Yeah.
Oui, VC.
Oui, oui. So, and then ended up reconnecting with Josh, stayed there for about a year. They're kind enough to let me kind of sleep on the couch and understand how it works.
Yeah.
Kind of learned the ropes there, jumped into a couple of space startups. And what we do now at Empirium is ultimately we're building kind of an Alibaba for the West. And how that came to is as we're seeing private capital being injected into hardware, primarily space is kind of stoking this. Actually, got an early lead with Citadel, obviously. But you see this kind of ramp of money getting injected into hardware. And then you see China kind of coming in with dirty capital and clever ways of poisoning it. And then you see the regulatory lag through CFIUS investigations. And so in that, there's this behavior of kind of just going to wherever you need to go to get supply. Now the government's coming in telling you, hey, I'm going to give you a bunch of money, but you can only go here. But there's no real good resource. And the thing that really lit it off for me was I was at a company, I was a space startup company, and we had decided to build a satellite.
Yep.
And we opened up a spreadsheet on a Zoom and started Googling around for satellite component companies. Yeah. And I was like, this is how we're going to compete. China, you can build an entire company in one industrial cluster before lunch.
Yep.
Here, we're Googling around and we're sharing data with like European countries we don't know the ultimate beneficial ownership for. And then we kind of default to things that we know like Amazon and Alibaba for R&D and just getting things across the line. I'm like, well, there are tons of source of production. And if it's true that marketplaces are kind of the easiest way to do global trade, right, low friction, because you can bake on all the compliance, the payments, logistics, then why don't we just build our own Alibaba version, right, before the West, and we'll just basically use a market mechanism to reduce friction, reduce costs, increase velocity, keep the trust in place, and now we're starting to chew away at the gap that China has with its cost-down society, industrial clusters that can move at the speed of light. So that's where it came through, and we've been building.
Thanks for listening to the Drone Wars podcast. If you liked what you heard today, please subscribe to catch all the latest insights for all things defense and geopolitics.